Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Ruark Audio MR1 active speakers. So before getting to this review, I want to show you the things that come in with the box. So you first of all get these two speakers, as it might be pretty obvious. You get a really nice little remote. You get a manual. And you get some speaker grills, which are useful for protecting the speakers, which I don't like personally using, but they are quite useful to have. You get a connection over here, which connects the left hand and right hand speakers, and you get a power brick, which is used for powering on the speakers. Now, going on to the features of the speakers, I'll start on with the left hand side. The left hand side is pretty simple. You've got a tweeter, you've got the speaker over here, you've got a nice little logo over there. At the bottom you've got little rubber bits and the air output for the bass. At the back you've got a left hand indicator and you've got a right hand input over here, which is this wire which connects in like so. The right hand speaker, on the other hand, is a little bit more, has a little bit more features to talk about. First of all, you've got the sensor over here, which one can presume that is for the remote and or the Bluetooth. You've got the same features at the front and underneath, but at the back is where all your inputs are gonna go. So first of all, you've got a right hand indicator over here, and you've got a output to the left hand side, which goes the same wire which goes to the left hand side over there. You've got the DC input, you've got a subwoofer output, you've got a 3.5mm input, and you've got input level of low and high. The input level of low and high is for different types of inputs. So for example, if you have a Blu-ray speaker, you might want to put it on a Blu-ray player, sorry, you might want to put it on high. If you've got a Samsung Galaxy S3, you might want to put it on low. So it really depends on what sort of input you're going to have. And I think it's great for Ruark for putting this feature in, because it really does change the sound. And by that I mean it changes this distortion. I found that when I put it on low on my PC, I found that it had some sort of distortion even at lower volumes. So it's good that they've included that, and it's a very useful switch to have. One thing you'll be able to notice, there is no optical input, and that is one of its flaws in my opinion. There's no optical input which allows you to have optical out from your PC, for example, to go straight into these. That means that it might not have a digitizer or anything that is able to process or process any type of sound. It literally just takes sound and plays it through its speakers, which I find a little bit of shame, especially at £300 price tag. I would have expected an optical input. It would have been nice to see. But anyway, that is not included, and nor is a headphone out. Now, I use these as a desktop speaker, and I often found myself, oh, where is my headphone out? There's no headphone out jack over here, as you can see around the speaker, and therefore it means that your headphones, if you don't have like an external DAC, which I have at the background, the EHP02D, then you're going to need to plug these in directly into your computer or something like that. I mean, unplug these from your computer and then plug your headphones straight into your computer. So that's another thing I found which is a little bit lacking and a shame for a set of £300 speakers. With that said, as I said at the beginning of the review, these have Bluetooth, and the Bluetooth functionality is really good. It has a really far range in terms of where I could go, and its Bluetooth connectivity was very, very simple and easy to use. So I'm going to plug these in and play a bit of music. But with that said, I don't think I'm going to be able to give them justice via my camera and or YouTube. But I will play some music anyway so you guys can hear it. So I'm going to turn it on like that. As you can see, you can turn it on and it goes to amber. And I'm going to play Pharrell Williams' Happy song, as I feel that has a nice sort of dynamic range for the frequencies. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air like I don't
baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because no offense to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along. Bring me down. 'Cause love is too high. Bring me down. Bring me down. I said because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along.
So that was a little short demonstration of the sound, and what I also try to show you is the volume and in terms of distortion that you might get if you got really loud volumes. I also try to demonstrate that these are quite one-directional speakers. If you change the direction of one speaker, you're going to hear it immediately, and I know this might sound pretty obvious that if you change the direction of a speaker then you're not going to get the best sound, but I felt that this was especially particularly with these and for example my Logitech Z5500 speakers, because they're very omnidirectional. If you change the direction a little bit, you're not going to get the best sound. Whereas with something like the Celestion 3 speakers, which I've got just over here, which have a bigger, sort of bigger speaker, I felt that even if I turn these away, you still get an excellent sound. The frequencies still come through quite nicely. So as one thing to mention, positioning is a huge key and factor that you should consider when it comes to these. So therefore, if you want to fill a room, you might fill a room decently, but you're not going to fill a room in terms of nice frequency range. By that I mean, for example, the mid-range is going to sound a little bit lost, and the high-end frequencies are not going to sound as sparkly. So as much as these can fill a room with loads of sound or even a living room, I do feel that if you're going to crank them up really loudly and you're not going to direct them in the right location, then these speakers are not going to be adequate enough. But for that said, in my use it was for desktop speakers, and for desktop speakers I position them exactly like this, for example, on my desk, which is just above there, and I was very much pleasantly surprised with the sound that they were giving. So in terms of the sound, I should probably mention my opinions about them. I felt that the mid-range was actually quite lacking. Now the music you heard over there was with the EQ set on a normal flat tone, so therefore there was no interfering with sort of any sort of EQ or whatnot, and I felt that the sound, if this was a frequency curve, I felt that they were a bit like this, especially the bass. The bass is actually really surprisingly good on these speakers, but because of the bass, the mid-range does get affected. So the mid-range kind of disappointed me for a set of £300 speakers. Now if I made these say £100 speakers or £150 speakers, I'd be like, yeah, mid-range was fine, it was good, it was not great, but it was fine. But for £300 speakers, I'm a bit more critical, because you pay a lot more money and you expect a lot better sound. So the mid-range was pretty disappointing in my opinion for these speakers. The high-end frequencies, on the other hand, were excellent. The tweeters really do work their magic, and they really do give you a nice little sparkle and sound. Hopefully you're able to hear from the happy song when it's sort of clapping and whatnot, that sort of sparkle and tone that comes out of it is really marvellous to listen to. The low-end frequencies are very good in the mid-bass. So the mid-bass is kind of the slam. The slam of these speakers was brilliant, but the extension and the low end rumble is not even present. The reason why is because these speakers are quite small, so I didn't expect any of much from these in terms of sub bass wise. It's nothing when it comes to comparing a bigger subwoofer. For example, the subwoofer that comes with my Logitech Z5500, which really does extend really well in the low end tones and kind of rattles your whole desk. Well, these are not going to rattle your whole desk, but instead they're going to give you a nice slam, which is going to kind of make your things jump constantly, but it's not going to make them like vibrate. Hopefully that kind of makes sense for you guys. But the sound overall was decent. It was not perfect, even though I was led to believe these are the best speakers for under £300. chosen by certain magazines in 2013, and I really struggling to think why they didn't mention the mid-range, because I did read the reviews and I did look at some reviews as well on YouTube, and I was a little surprised that they didn't even mention the mid-range to be a bit lacking, especially comparison to other speakers out there. For example, my Celestion 3s that I just showed you a little while ago, their mid-range is absolutely sublime, and so is their high-end frequencies. They are passive speakers, that said, so there's no sort of bass. They're not that bassy, but with that said, they are passive speakers, so they're designed a bit differently. But anyway, sound-wise, they're good, but they're not brilliant. They're not perfect, in my opinion. The mid-range is certainly lacking. I would have liked to see a bit more emphasis on the mid-range. In terms of its functionalities, I think the Bluetooth functionality is absolutely sublime. It really does a great job. Its control wheel is perfectly designed. Its design of the speaker is really nice, but the fact it has no input for optical or output for your headphone is a little bit disappointing, especially seeing as these can be used for your desktop. The little control remote that you have here is very nice. It's very simple, up and down in volume, mute, on and off, which works perfectly fine, and you've got a line in and Bluetooth mode selection over here, which is very useful to have. The little remote is very nice and small, which means that it fits very easily in anywhere you want to put it. For example, in your pocket or whatnot. If you're at a party or whatnot, you just want to switch on your speaker, turn it up or not. And I find this little remote to be really nice. Although it might seem a little bit cheap looking, I really love it because of its small size. So overall, what do I give these speakers? Well, in all honesty, I can't give them any higher than an 8 out of 10. And the reason behind that is because of its lack of functionalities in terms of the input of an optical and output of a 3.5mm jack, and the fact that their mid-range, well, should I say, and mainly because of their mid-range frequencies to be quite lacking. I just found that their mid-range could have been much better, especially at a high price tag of £300. I felt I'm a bit more critical. Now if I move these to £150 price tag, I would give them full out of 10 review, but seeing £300 is quite expensive for a set of 2 speakers, I felt that 8 out of 10 is a more realistic and more honest review. Where would I see these speakers being used? In all honesty, I would see them being used as a say Android, iPhone, iPod sort of dock type thing, so you can sync up your music and just on the go and listen to them. Or a set of desktop speakers. Now this would be, should I say, entry level in that respect, entry level desktop speakers, but they come at such a high price tag that it's very hard to say entry level at that price tag. So for £300 you can buy quite a lot of speaker, say audio equipment in that respect. So I didn't know really where to put them in, and I didn't know if I could really suggest them for the living room. I would definitely not suggest them for like a set of speakers for your TV. I wouldn't suggest them for a big living room with an open space. I wouldn't suggest them for, say, maybe a party, because for a party you're going to need them to be not one directional, and unfortunately these are quite one directional, and at louder volumes these do distort. So I didn't know where I would really use them. So as a desktop speaker is where I would say their optimal use would be, especially with their Bluetooth functionality, allows them to quickly change for your music and whatnot for some reason if you'd like to have that. So in that respect, I would say that these can be used mainly for your desk. I wouldn't really use them for your home in that respect, and I wouldn't really use them for like a boombox type, because at their high price tag, in all honesty, I'd rather have my TDK 3-speaker boombox instead, which its mid-ranges is pretty similar of these speakers, comes in around £300 price tag, but has a much better volume and overall volume, so I say sound to it. So in that respect, I must say that these speakers do a really good job, but they could have done a lot better. So anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this review of the Ruark Audio MR1 active speakers. They really did impress me in terms of their sound, but I felt a little bit disappointed seeing as at a high price tag that they couldn't offer a little bit more. Anyway guys, if you want to read more about these, make sure you do check out my written review in the link description, which will be to my website with some pictures of these speakers, and make sure you do like this video and subscribe, it always does help, and do let me know your comments below if you own these speakers or were thinking about buying them, or if you're in the market for some speakers or whatnot. Anyway guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you and you've enjoyed my review. Take care guys, Totally Dubbed out. Bye bye.